गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः.
Hello students, I welcome all of you to this online YouTube classes. In first year PUC, especially in computer science, you have so many chapters. There are 17 chapters you have. I myself, KUMAR from from University College, who is handling the classes for first PU, especially for you. Chapter number 4, that deals with the software concepts. First chapter, you will have the introduction, fundamentals. Second chapter, input-output devices. Third chapter will be the data representation. And the fourth one will be the software concepts. Students, you must be knowing, without software, computer becomes a dead machine. There are totally 4 wares you will have. One, software, hardware, firmware, normally people don't use this term, firmware, and humanware. Software is the set of programs. Program is a set of instructions. Instruction is a command given to the computer to do some work. So collection of instructions in a sequence, in a proper format, will form a program. That program is to solve a given problem. Okay? Set of such programs to solve one or more problems is called the software. Hardware, physical components. In the first chapter they will tell you physical components of the computer, the one which you can touch and feel, the one which you can touch and feel. You can see with your bare eyes. Software you cannot see, you cannot touch with the bare eyes, and you cannot touch and feel. It is stored in the memory. The software can be unprocessed data, processed data, programs, set of programs, everything will be there in the memory. Basically, the contents of memory is called the software. I told you about the software, hardware. Firmware, that is one type of memory called read-only memory. That read-only memory contains the software called firmware. We call it as BIOS, Basic Input-Output System. It's a software. It can be a part of the operating system that I am going to tell you in this particular chapter. It is necessary for the user to instigate the work in the system. We are the human being. We can start our own work on our own. Okay? Our work on our own. The moment we get up from bed, we start our work. On our own we can work. Because we have the brain, we have the life. Computer is a dead machine. Without the software, it's going to be a dead machine. The software which is present in read-only memory called firmware, that helps the computer to start the work in a system. To instigate the work in a system. Okay, that instigation software is called the firmware. So hardware, software, firmware, humanware are nothing but the users. Okay, they are nothing but the users. Okay, fine. This is just a small introduction to the different types of ways we have. So especially in this chapter, in the software concepts chapter, we are going to learn about the introduction. This is a small introduction which I gave you. Types of software. Okay, what is software? What are the different types of software? Classification of software. Okay, detailed classification of software. Computer languages. We need to know why the computer language is required. Like we have English language, Kannada language, Sanskrit or Hindi, whatever it is. We need to have a language for the communication with the computer. So we are going to learn that. Different types of translators are there. One of the translators will be the operating system. We are going to learn more about this operating system, types of operating system, features of different types of operating system. N number of operating systems are there. Out of it, the classification we need to know. So we need to know the features of each type of operating system. Can be a single user, can be a multi-user, also things you are going to learn in this particular chapter. So this is about only the topics which I am going to cover in this particular chapter. In the next slide, we need to know what the hardware is. You can see hardware, physical components of a computer. Software, the set of programs. You can see lots of programs there. Okay, maybe to interact with the computer, maybe to solve our problems, maybe for communication. Not necessary to communicate with the computer, from one computer to another computer, from one user to another user. You have seen mailing software. You can mail, or you can send the SMS from one mobile to another mobile. So you need to have a software. Okay, all those are the simple examples for the software. Next, we need to know, I have told you, hardware, software, and the user. Basic components of the computer are called the users. So the components are called of the computer. Hardware, physical components, as I have already told you. Software is the set of programs, set of instructions, right? One program is there that is to find the solution of a particular problem, or to perform one task, or to complete one task. Software is there. Set programs for one or more applications is called software. User, of course, we are all the people who are using the computer for different applications. Okay, there is one thing called utility. Maybe in that utility, in the next in the detailed classification, you will be getting that particular utility definition. A computer antivirus is there. But antivirus is a software. All of us are using that for clearing the virus from the system. And suppose we have a music file which is created or stored or recorded. We need to clear that. In the sense, the data is stored in the form of binary. In the data representation chapters, they have told you about how the data is stored in the memory, how the data will be recorded in the memory, represented in the memory in the form of binary. Instead, whatever is there in the form of binary in the memory, that has to be converted into the human understandable or audible form. We call it as the software or audio software. Suppose we have something which is stored in the form of binary, which I want to get it in the speaker. A software is required, which is called a translator. Right? Which is called a translator. Similarly, we have a document, maybe notes, which you want to type it and save it in the memory for future reference. Okay, once the notes is prepared, written the notes in your notebook, that can be used in future. Right? Maybe n number of years you can keep it if you want, and then use it. You can use that as the reference. Similarly, the one which is stored in the memory, maybe the document, maybe the notes, that can be stored permanently and kept it for a long time. So for that purpose, we need to have one more software called the MS Office. In that, documentation can be performed. Using that MS Office, using that MS Word, you can store, you can type the text, you can type the notes, with the diagrams also. There are lots of features or facilities available in many software packages. Of course, package is another term which I have used now. Package is also a software. Okay, package is also a software. You can call the software or a package. Set of both are set of programs. Basically, software is the term which we use it for the program. Right. In the next one, we need to know the types of software. Okay, there are different types of software available. One of the types of software is the system software. Second one is the application software. And I told you in the previous session that utility software. Antivirus is a utility which can be used by all, irrespective of the class of people. Some set of software are used by one particular class of people only. Maybe scientific application, only scientific application, maybe research and development people can use it. Scientific research, okay, such people can use that. Accounting, business class people can use it, something like that. We'll see that the classification shortly. System software, application software, and the utility software. You can see the diagram. There is one thing called application software which is there in the top. Okay? And it's going to act as the mediator between the system software and the user. Okay? System software and the user. That is called application software. System software is required for us to communicate with the system only. Just for the sake of communication. Let's say, for example, maybe to copy a file from one place to other place, maybe to rename a file, maybe to delete a file. Different file input-output operations will be there. Okay, such operations can be performed by the system software. For that we need to have a kind of interpreter, or interpreter in the sense the converter, translator. The translator is called a system software. Application software is there. That application software is to solve the user's problems. Okay, user's problems. Maybe accounting can be there, maybe administration can be there, result declaration can be there. Many different problems of the users can be solved using those application software. Okay, using those application software. Maybe specific to one particular type of software, we call it as utility, which can be used by all. I have mentioned already, antivirus. That antivirus package will be used by everyone. Okay, irrespective of the class of people. No, I am an IS officer, I have a computer at home. The virus will not attack my computer. Not like that. The virus may attack any computer. And of course, all class of people will be using this particular software called utility software. So I was telling about the system software, application software, and the utility. And also I told you that the utility software is for everyone to clean the hard disk, to clean the virus, to take out the virus, computer virus from the hard disk. Everyone will be using this particular software, which will be present in the computer along with the operating system. And of course, it is loaded from outside, so it is used by everyone. So if you can see the diagram, the top you have the application software, maybe a database, maybe something else, MS Word, maybe any other application software. Above that we have the users. Okay, between the hardware and the application software, you have system software. Those system software can be operating system, can be compiler, or a language translator, or a utility software, or anything. This is only a small introduction about the types of operating system. When we go to the next part, in the next part, the detailed classification of the software is there. And that you can see a system software and the application software. Okay? Basically, computer deals with two things, which I have told you earlier. Hardware and the software. Of course, without the human being, without the user, these two becomes a waste. Software is classified as the system software, application software, and the utility software. System software, as I told you earlier, basically used to communicate with the system. just for the sake of interaction, because computer understands zeros and ones. And of course, it is for our knowledge we say, our convenience we say, it understands zeros and ones. But actually, it cannot understand binary language. It can understand only the electricity which is passed to it, high or low. Whether the electricity is there or not there. Whether the power is there or not there. Only that, on that basis, the computer understands or stores. Okay, maybe zeros and ones, according to our convenience, let us follow that only. Okay, computer understands only zeros and ones. The commands given by the user will be in the human readable language, human understandable language. Can be any language for that matter. Okay, basically using English language, but nowadays there are so many languages through which the computer can be used, or user can communicate with the computer with the different languages. Okay, maybe local languages also you can communicate with the system. Fine. So we need to have a translator to interact with the computer. The translation software is called the operating system. Okay, operating system will act as a mediator between the user and the hardware. User and the hardware, it will act as the mediator, it's an interface. We also call it as the software interface, which will act as the mediator between the user and the hardware. Whatever instruction we give, operating system translates that into computer understandable form, and then that will be given to the computer for execution. Vice versa. When the computer gives us the result, that result has to be translated back to user understandable form from the computer understandable form. That process is performed by the operating system. The next is, in the system software itself, we have the language translators also. Okay, language translators also. But the other way, in the other place, when we take the application software, we have languages, packages, and the utilities. Languages, different types of languages are there, classification of languages, we will see that later. Those languages are used to solve the user's problems, users' mathematical problems, users' business problems, users' commercial problems, scientific problems. Okay, operating system helps us only to communicate with the system. But these language translators are used like compiler, interpreter, assembler. Such a software or such a system software are used for converting the languages or the programs written in the user language into computer understandable language for the sake of solving a problem, solving a set of problems. Okay, so software, system software, in that system software we have operating system, language translators, okay, then BIOS I told you already, something like that. There are so many types of system software. Along with that, the language translators like compiler, interpreter. There are two more things which we need to know: linker, loader, and the editor. These are the few examples for system software. In the application software, we have something called the languages. Those languages can be in the machine form, machine understandable form, or it can be user understandable form. Okay, and also certain ready-made programs called packages come under application software. Package and the software I told you. A set of programs is called a package. That can also be a part of application software. Okay. Next, when we take up the system software, that system software I told you will act as a mediator between the user and the hardware. Okay, user and the hardware. That software is also called an interface. Like for example, the operating system. That operating system is a system software which controls the hardware components, which has the capability of controlling the hardware components. Say for example, when you give an instruction, that instruction will be translated into the machine understandable form. Maybe you have something to be stored in the memory. Of course, operating system does that job. Where to be stored and how it is to be stored, it is the job of the operating system. That is called the system software. The main thing is that in the system, main software is the operating system in the computer. It provides the environment for the user for different applications, different operations. Maybe just for the sake of file input-output operations, or it can also be used for solving any problems using the computer languages. Language translators are there. Okay, language translators are there. Why do we need to have language translators? I told you already, computer understands only high or low. We understand that 1 or 0. High means 1, 0, low. It understands that language. The instruction which is given by us will be in the form of human readable language. That has to be translated into computer understandable language for the sake of execution, for the sake of solving the problem. Okay, solving the problem. They are called the language translators. So that is also a part of the system software. Operating system, language translators. Sometimes the utility software can also be a part of the application system software. Antivirus. Antivirus is to be loaded when you start the system, immediately it has to go to the memory. Every input-output operation, that program has to be executed by the operating system for general operations. Next, application. When we say application software, it is something like word processing, electronic spreadsheet, right? PowerPoint presentation, the one which I am giving. With that I am talking to you. Right? With that I am talking to you. I have that in front of me, I have that. Or maybe side by side I have that. PowerPoint presentation I need. Or maybe for mailing from one place to other place, for the sake of communication, we need to have a software. That software is called the application software. Next, when we say application software, it is for a particular set of jobs. It is for a particular or a specific job or a specific task. Generally, these application software are written in one of the human readable languages. Okay, one of the human readable languages. Since I have not told you about the different levels of languages, this human readable language is something like a high level language. Okay, high level language, which is in the form of English language, which can be read by the user, but the computer cannot read that. So, using language translator, that application form, program or the software can be developed. So it is written in the high level language. Okay, so it is for solving any problems we are going to write the software. Okay. Application software can be further classified as, apart from the languages, further they are classified as, especially the packages which I told you. Package or a software is the ready-made set of programs. They are classified as specific application packages. Okay, specific purpose or specific application packages. And the other one is general purpose or general application packages. Specific application package can be accounting package, tally. It is used only for accounting applications, accounting purpose. It cannot be used for the sake of scientific calculations. Suppose you have a scientific application package, it can be used only with that. Business application package, it can be used only for business applications. something like that. Some examples are also given there. Okay, but general purpose packages can be used for many different applications by the user. MS Office is there, that can be used for different office operations, to store the data, to store the document, to perform different operations using this, right? And also it contains Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, etc. There are the parts of this application software generally used by everyone. Oracle is a database package, okay, database management system package. So this Oracle is also a general purpose package. Okay, this is about the types of applications software. Next, in general, if you want to see the computer system or the architecture, different layers will be application layer, where you have the users there, software, especially the application programs, application software, language translators, operating system, or different translators in between. And then it goes to the system software, in particular about the BIOS I told you, or command line interpreters, and then the hardware. This is the architecture you will have. So in this particular set of layers, you can see hardware is the innermost component in this. Next comes the software, especially the system software, and then comes the application software about that, and then the users will be there to operate the system. So the next, we need to understand the languages, computer languages. What is meant by a language? Why do we need a language? Simple. We need a language for communication. That language is a tool for communication. Can be English language, can be Kannada language, can be another language, including the sign language we say. Sometimes we use this language, it's also a language. Right? That is a best tool for communication. Right? Similarly, if you want to communicate with the computer, there are different levels of languages you will have. Different levels of languages can be low level, high level, basically. Low level and high level. Low level further classified as machine level language, assembly level language, machine level language and assembly level language. Sentences are formed using these languages, isn't it? Using English language, Kannada language or any other communication tool. Similarly, instruction in a computer. Instruction is a command given to the computer that can be in any of these languages. Can be using low level language, can be using high level language. Low level language, I told you, further classified as machine level and assembly level. I'll tell you what is machine level and what is assembly level language later. And a high level language. Machine level and assembly level languages, to some extent the user can understand, not fully. But whereas the high level languages are understood by the human being fully, but the computer will not understand that language. Okay? There are certain simple languages, like specific purpose languages. Specific purpose language means it can be used for a particular application only. And the other one is general purpose language. It can be used for any of the applications, to solve any of the applications. There is one thing called COBOL, Common Business Oriented Language. That COBOL language is used only in the scientific application. Okay, to solve the business application. Fortran is a language used for scientific applications. It cannot be used for business applications. Okay, formula translation. These two are, specific application packages. So languages. To prepare any packages, these two languages can be used. Similarly, general purpose languages can be basic language is there, C language is there, C++ language is there, Pascal language is there. Basic beginners all purpose symbolic instruction code. Pascal is a language which can be used in business applications and also in the scientific application. General purpose. And also it is used for some, preparing some games. And of course it is named after a scientist called Blaise Pascal. C language is there, it's a common language. Continuation of that advanced version of that C language is C++. These languages are called general purpose languages. Next, when we talk about the machine level language, we will have to find out what is machine level language. I told you, people used to write the instructions using zeros and ones only to operate with the system, to interact with the system, or to get the work done from a computer. They used to frame an instruction, they used to form an instruction using the machine level language only. So when you talk about the machine level language, as we have already seen, instructions were written in machine level language, that is by using zeros and ones only. People used to write the instructions using zeros and ones only. Only certain set of people could understand this language, because if it is written in zeros and ones, common people cannot understand this language. It is written using the machine understandable language only. Because computer understands zeros and ones according to our specification, our understanding. Actually speaking, it understands high and low. High is 1, low is 0. Let us follow that only. So using zeros and ones only, people used to write the instructions. If you can see the table given there, statement is nothing but an instruction that contains set of zeros and ones. But as a layman, as a common man, it doesn't make any sense for me. It says it's only a set of nonsense zeros and ones. But actually speaking, it will have two. Each instruction will have two parts. One is called the opcode, the other one is called the operands. What is to be performed is called opcode. Some example is given there in the table. Statement says 0001 and set of zeros and ones. Load the data is the meaning of that. Where to load the data, how to store the data, what is to be added, okay, how to store the result. And of course, every program will have a begin and also the end. And of course, when you say stop, computer terminates that program. So there are totally 4 instructions in a table, 4 instructions will be there in a program. The first statement says something, second statement says something, third statement says something, fourth statement is to stop the process. Okay, every program, every problem solution will be implemented using a program, and that will have 3 steps. One is input, second one is process, the third one is output. Okay, input, process and output, and stop, of course. These few steps will be there in every solution, every program. It can be a common problem solution, or it can be a solution using a computer program. These 3 steps will be there. Okay, say for example, one simple example, I am hungry is a problem, right? Ingredients we collect, inputs, we prepare the food, process, and the outcome of that will be the final product that is going to be consumed by the user. To solve hunger problem, something like that. Every problem will have 3 steps. When we go to the next part, I told you every instruction will have 2 parts. One is called the opcode. That opcode is nothing but the operation code. What is to be performed? With what is the operands, set of operands. With what is the set of operands. First 4 bits in an instruction. Instruction contains only zeros and ones, out of which we need to separate them, and we need to say to the computer about what is there in that particular set of zeros and ones. We need to tell the computer or the processor that first 4 bits is for opcode, remaining bits will be for operands. Maybe 8 bits, maybe 16 bits, depends. Remaining bits will be for operands. This is how we have to frame the instruction. Difficult for me to understand, difficult for you to understand, difficult for any common man to understand this language. But one advantage of this language will be, we don't need to have any translator. It can be directly executed in a system, because it's already there in the computer understandable form. Directly it can be executed in a system. So no need to have any language translator for this particular language. One drawback of this language will be machine dependent. I mean, it can be used only in that machine, that cannot be used in the other machine. That is one of the drawbacks. Another drawback is difficult for us to understand and to write the instruction. If there is any problem in the instruction, we call it as the error, that cannot be corrected by simple methods. Okay, these are the few problems and the advantages also for this particular language, and it executes the program at a faster rate because it's already there in the computer understandable form. It can execute faster than any other language because no need to have a translator. If the translator is required, translation time will be consumed for execution or before execution, and then it is going to execute. But here in the case of this, since it is already there in the computer understandable form, this can be understood by the computer easily, can be executed by the computer easily, and also at a high speed it can execute the program. Okay, next about the assembly level language program. Of course, I told you this is also called a low level language program. But actually speaking, assembly level language is like the middle level language. Either high level language nor low level language. Neither high level language nor low level language. Because to some extent we can understand, to some extent the computer understands that. Okay, understands that. And directly it can interact with the hardware using assembly language program. Okay, so in this case, instead of using zeros and ones to write the instructions, certain abbreviations we can use. Some abbreviations you can use. Those abbreviations are called mnemonics. So you can see that in the red color. Mnemonics. Mnemonics means M is silent there. Mnemonics means it is a coded language. To some extent we can understand, then we can write the instruction. We can correct the program also to some extent, but not fully. So for example, STA. STA is one instruction. Partially you can understand that. ADD, fine, it is for adding. SUB can be used for subtraction. MUL can be used for multiplication. DIV is used for division. To some extent we can understand. But the problem with this is it has to be translated into machine level language. So it needs a translator. That translator is called an assembler. So it will take little extra time compared to machine level language to execute this program, because it takes some time to translate and then it will execute. For the sake of translation, it will consume some time and then execution. So it takes little extra time to execute a program. Of course, it is easy to understand to some extent because we are using some mnemonics, coded languages or the abbreviations for different operations. Okay, easy. One more drawback of this language is this is also a machine dependent language. We call it as portability. It is not portable. This particular program is not a portable program, or this language is not portable. In the sense, machine level language, assembly level language programs which are written by the users can be executed only in the system where it is written. Where it is executed only in that system, it can be executed, used. Same program, if you copy it like you copy any other C++ or C program or any other Java program from one computer to another computer, you cannot copy this machine dependent language. And of course, there are a lot of limitations to have the set of abbreviations in this also. Maximum how much you can use: store, copy, subtract, multiplication, multiply, divide, jump. Such things can be used. With that only you have to perform different operations to solve a given problem. But whereas in the case of the other set of languages, other set of languages, you have lots of options. These two are basically machine dependent languages, which means to say not portable languages. Not portable languages. For the sake of final examination, the list of questions will be given there. You need to solve or write the answers for these questions. These questions will be there. Maybe 1 mark question, 2 marks question, 3 marks questions and 5 marks questions, etc. etc. The final examination, you need to practice these questions for this session.